learned from being a member of my fraternity is the personal and professional development I've had. I've learned time management skills, organization, event planning, career preparedness, etc. And I do not think I would have gotten these skills as extensively if I was not a member of my fraternity, and it's made me a better student, leader, person. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, all of those things. I guess another thing that I would add is, I mean, from right off the bat, like, you get what you put in to your chapter. So, like, I mean, if you are active and, like, really engaging with your peer members, like, you can get so much out of this and learn so much through, like, all my roles. I mean, I've just gained so many skills that, you know, you never really know until you need them. And then I'm like, oh, I've learned, like, I've become very, very good at planning events. And there's a lot that goes into that with regards to, like, getting everyone, you know, delegation and getting people to do what they need to do on a timely manner. Like he said, leadership, just, you know, being able to get a group of individuals that have completely, or not necessarily completely, but very different kind of goals and whatnot to kind of work together towards a common goal. I mean, that's basically what we do in our role every single day. And besides that, yeah, I mean, just time management, the ability to sort of balance of, you know, what do I need to do now? What can I put off? What should I prioritize in these days? And all of that stuff. And yeah, like you said, like, this community has given me so much and taught me so much that I probably would not have gotten, at least to that same extent, if I weren't in Greek life.
I'm a student in engineering, and so engineering is typically a very male-dominated field, so being in a sorority surrounded by strong women who support me is really a great thing and not something I really found in my studies. So I really enjoy that part of the community. And I think it also gives a lot of opportunities to learn about things that maybe you wouldn't learn about from people with similar interests to you. So my sorority sisters typically are involved in organizations that I had never even heard about. So I was able to join being a first-year orientation leader, which was something I had never considered until one of my sorority sisters told me I should apply. So I think getting opportunities that you would never really see, maybe if you weren't in this organization, is a great benefit.
Parents?
Sure. My daughter's a sophomore, so I don't know how she would answer the question, what has she learned? But I can definitely tell you what the benefits have been for her so far. And it's definitely the friendships and the community. You know, it makes a big school a little bit smaller. Everyone's, you know, trying to meet new people, and the sorority's been a great addition to that. You know, she has friends from her dorm. She has friends from her sorority. She has friends from different clubs she's in. And so she's got a lot of different types of relationships. One of the things she's really enjoyed is getting to know some older girls who act as mentors for her. I know this week she's going to go have lunch with a girl who's a senior who just got back from a study abroad, doing a Vanderbilt immersion and working, and something my daughter's very interested in. And so, you know, that's a huge benefit that she can take advantage of those resources with older girls that have some common interests and can help her navigate her career and her Vanderbilt experience.
I asked my daughter, you know, what she had learned, because I was wondering. It's a good question, right? And, you know, she said, which, you know, I didn't even realize they were doing all of the, like, the professional development and the DEI training and all of that. And she did say to discuss, you know, bigger issues in a group has been really meaningful to her, to get different perspectives. And even though you might all be in the same sorority and you might all be sisters, people are different and they have different viewpoints, and they're to learn something together and to also be an environment where it's not judgmental and you accept different perspectives, but at the same time everyone's learning. So she said she's really like appreciated that, and it also that idea of holding people accountable. When you discuss some of these issues and then you go out and you're out on a Saturday night or on a Tuesday morning, you know, you're looking at that person and, hey, we talked about this the other day. So she said she's felt like that's been very worthwhile and meaningful. And then, you know, in addition to kind of, you know, add what she was saying is, I think that, you know, what I love about the Greek life at Vanderbilt is that, you know, I had an older daughter who graduated and then one who's still here, but for both of them, it's part of their life, right? It's not their full experience. They don't live in the house. It's not everything they do. They have friends that are not in sororities. They have friends that are in sororities. They have friends that, you know, have had very different experiences. So it's one part of their experience at Vanderbilt, and it's not the whole thing. So I think that that's something that's really, really valuable. So.
I agree with all of those things, but my daughter had an immediate community that she wasn't necessarily, she didn't know about. She's with NPHC, so her process didn't start until junior year. So it was much different. She hasn't been in this all these years, but she went to New York this summer in an internship, and in that internship, she networked with women from her sorority that she never would have met if they hadn't known that she was a member of that sorority. And she met them personally and professionally. And for the amount of what a sorority can do, the networking opportunities is just immense. And you never know who you're going to know in a world where everybody might have somebody that's in your sorority.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Those were such great answers. Okay, since we have so many parents here that their students are thinking about joining, parents, can you talk to us a little bit about how did you approach the intake and recruitment process with your student? Like, how did you approach talking about that with them, or when they were going through the process? How did you approach managing that with your student, and what advice would you give to the other parents about that?
It is a fraught process, no doubt, because for sororities, you start out with 9 and you end up with 1, and so you will be rejected, and by some sororities, and there's others that you will reject, and so it's hard to know what to do. But the thing that I would counsel my daughter on is it's going to work out no matter where you land, because there are all kinds of different people in every sorority. You're going to find great friendships. No matter where you are. So, of course, there's some anxiety associated with it, and that is just to be expected. But the process works out, and my daughter's very happy, and anyway, so.
Well, we had 2 different experiences with Rush. One was a lot more grueling than the other, but I would say a friend of mine gave one of my daughters some really good advice, which was, look at this as a good opportunity to meet new friends. And every time you sit down and you talk with someone during Rush, here's someone you're going to meet, and you may be in their sorority, you may not, but you're going to see them around campus. You'll see them at Rand, or you'll have a class with them, and that's one more person that you know. And that helped take the pressure off of her. She's like, okay, here's an opportunity just to go meet some new friends. So that was really positive. And I think what's important is just to kind of be there. One daughter needed to lean on me more during that week, and the other one was, had just sort of didn't need me as much. But, not to, for me anyway, it worked out just to sort of to be available when I was needed, and then to let them run their own show when I wasn't needed.
So once again, my daughter's in PHC, so the process was very different. She knew coming to Vanderbilt which sorority she wanted to be a part of, which was my sorority. So she is a legacy of my sorority, and that makes it an entirely different process. But the one thing that we always talked to her about was make sure they see who you are, not who you think they want you to be. Because she found that the girls that she wound up with, they like her for who she is. And if she had to be that person that she wasn't really when she was just getting started with the process, it'd make for a very long 4 years or a year for her that would just be her being somebody that she really wasn't.
Yeah. Logan, would you like to add anything to the IFC process, since we don't have a parent related to the IFC process here?
Yeah. So recruitment is very near and dear to my heart. I was recruitment chair for my chapter and was IFC VP of recruitment. So I love the recruiting process. I think it, like they said, it's just such a great opportunity to just meet a ton of people, which as you're entering a new school, right, it just provides a really easy kind of low pressure way of just getting to know people. But that being said, I think the things that I would really recommend, as I said earlier, go everywhere, go to all of the chapters. Just even if you leave a chapter being like, okay, I don't know if I want to be a part of that organization, you still met people there. And more so than that, just go, and guess, yeah, just go everywhere. Like, you don't know what you don't know. Get to meet as many people as possible and really take advantage of this process. And I guess in addition to that, right, really kind of put yourself first. Recruitment, especially, like, I mean, your kids, everyone's gonna be rushing right now, and so I think there's gonna be a lot of pressure of, right, you're gonna go walk back to commons, someone's gonna be like, oh, where did you go? Do you know where you're going? Blah, blah, blah. And like, don't look at it as a pressure process. Look at it as something where, it truly is just a means of exploring opportunities and meeting new people. And yeah, just really prioritize your mental health and your school above recruitment. Recruitment's fun. It's a great process, but it's not the end all. She said 25, I think Kristen said 25% of people, which means there's 75% of students are not in Greek life. So I think, yeah, it can be pressure packed at times, but really kind of understanding that it is not a life and death process, and it really should be something that you enjoy and something that is a really fun thing to do.
Thanks, Logan. One of the things that parents can sometimes be leery about it relates to the balance of academics and the joining of Greek life or other student organizations. So can we all maybe give a couple tips, or how are you doing at balancing those things, or how have you seen your students balance the academics and the time management with Greek life and other things? Students or parents?
My chapter, as well as I know a lot of other chapters in Panhellenic, have study hours. So we have time dedicated in our house where everyone's studying together, so you can come. We all know everyone has hard classes, there's a lot going on in their lives, so we want to build time where you can be bonding with your sisters and getting your work done. And I think also just reaching out to older members. I had a really tough time when I joined a sorority and was trying to be in clubs and have my classes. So I asked them how they were handling it. And I think reaching out to those mentors and those people who kind of have it a little more figured out, maybe not totally figured out, but a little more, is really helpful when you're going through this new process.
Anything from the parents?
Yeah, I mean, I think in my experience I've seen with my daughters, like, there'll be some tough weeks, and it's like all the tests seem to be that week, and this other 2 clubs that she's in, and the sorority, it seems like things kind of pile up. But for the most part, I feel like sorority's been very understanding if she can't participate in something because she has test or school or whatever, that it's never really been an issue for us. Everybody's been really supportive of academics first. And it's more a matter of, I think so many students try to do so much, right? They want to be involved. There's so much to do on campus, and they also want to do really well academically. That it's more, I think you kind of have to pace yourself. It seems like, but I never felt like the sorority was by any means too demanding or too pushy.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any advice or tips that you would have about the discussion related to managing the finances and the financial obligations?
I'd really like to echo what you said, Kristen, about the experience. Vanderbilt, it's a wonderful program. Like Kristen said, up to $500 for the organization of your choice. That was a huge help to members of my fraternity, so I can't recommend that enough. Excuse me. And then also, well, no. That's all that's all.
Yeah, experience Vanderbilt, I mean, it's saved my life. And then I guess also understand that each chapter, for the most part, has like internal scholarship programs. So we're really striving as a community for finances to not be a barrier to entry. That should not be the reason that you aren't able to join a chapter. And so really working with, whatever chapter you're in, the treasurer, and you can making it very transparent where you're at and what you can afford. And everyone is very, very willing to work with you. And there are copious opportunities of like scholarships through, as I said, chapters. At least for us, like IFC does like a scholarship program. And so finances should not be the barrier. And like the thing I would recommend is just be transparent. Let them know your situation, and you'd be very surprised at how flexible every organization is.
I also think, too, having a conversation before the recruitment process about how finances are going to be paid for is really important. I'm a recruitment counselor, and so our job for Panhellenic is to help new members through the recruitment process and supporting them. And it can be a really stressful process. And I think also being unsure of how you would pay dues before you're accepted into a chapter. And if you're not really sure about that, that's an added layer of pressure and concern going through the recruitment process. So there are the resources to know what the dues are for every chapter right now. So I think having a conversation with your child and just having an understanding before the recruitment process even starts can take a lot of pressure off of them through the process.
That was basically my thing. We looked online for, I think it's VU Greek or
Yeah.
somewhere we found online well before, and so we knew a ballpark figure of how much it was going to be. So that was really helpful for us because I know what it was for me, and that was definitely a very different price point.
Yeah. I just think it is important to like just talk about it in advance so that everybody is on the same page. I have a stepson who's 20 and just trying to talk through like whose responsibility is going to be what related to your lived experience at college is important. So I want to give some opportunities for the parents to ask questions, but if you could maybe just tell us one tip that you would give to the parents in navigating things related to fraternities and sororities or just being here at Vanderbilt in general before we turn over the questions to them.
I think taking advantage of all the opportunities there are in terms of leadership, I think this is a great time to grow as a person. And also tell your student to go to office hours because it's a great way to get help in your classes.
Yes, I mean, yes, office hours are great. I guess, and it's been said, throughout this, but like, really take advantage of every opportunity, not even from a Greek life perspective. Like this campus, the people that are here are all so impressive. I mean, that's what they're doing. And like, they all have such a unique perspective that they can lend to you in any endeavor. And so really kind of getting motivating them to just take advantage of everything. But in that same vein, the power of saying no is huge, right? Not biting off more than you can chew, because it can become overwhelming, especially as midterms start coming and all your papers start stack up, and there's that week where everything seems to stack up. It always happens to me. I don't know why. But yeah, just making it a point to say no and reaching out, be transparent with your professors. I have never once emailed a professor and said, hey, I just, like ahead of time, not night before, that's a little different, but like email them within a week and say, hey, I just don't know if I'm gonna be able to get this to you on the deadline. And I have never once had a professor not be willing to, extend the deadline a little bit. And so just tell them to be transparent. Same with finances, same with school. Communication is key.
Yeah, I just really want to echo the communication part, especially in the sense of trying new things, whether that be in Greek life. Your child may come in wanting to be in a particular organization and maybe encouraging them to explore, do research first. Not only within Greek life, but just everything at Vanderbilt, because like Logan said, there's so many resources that you can take advantage of. So just having conversations with your children about utilizing those resources, as well as just talking with them, period. Sometimes we're college students, there's a lot going on. So just talking with your children about how their college experience is going, being a support to them, I think is very, very helpful.
I guess the tip I could offer is really regarding recruitment, because that's my main interaction with, how I've been able to help my daughter. And I would say, just help them through that process. It's a very intense week, but, 75% of the kids aren't even in Greek life. This is an extension of her Vanderbilt experience. It doesn't make or break her Vanderbilt experience at all. Anyway, so I think just helping to manage the anxiety through that and know that it is not that big of a deal. It is a great, addition to her life here, but it is not at all her whole experience.
And I think finding community is so important, and it doesn't have to be one community. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm in this sorority, and that's my community, right? That might be one of your communities, and then you might have, oh, your freshman hall, you're still friends with all those girls, and that's great. So I think it's so important for them to go and experience all these things and to, kind of, go through cafeteria style and check out the sororities, check out the fraternities, check out these clubs and see what it is that really draws them. But to find not just one community, but different communities that they can be part of to help really expand their experience here.
So for me, one of the things that I think we did, and I just say anybody should do it, you're here this weekend, go take them to some place that they might not necessarily be able to eat at during the, like we did Jenny's ice cream, and we've done Five Daughters Donuts, and I was able to give my daughter that as a birthday present one time because we knew she loved it because we'd been there. So the places that you get to eat this week, you don't know, birthday's coming, hard days coming, it'd be a nice little treat to know that they really like someplace.
Awesome. Okay, do we have any questions from the crowd? Yes, please.
Regarding rush, you said it starts the weekend before school starts and then ends the weekend after. Are there events during the week as well?
No, you have a daughter? Yes. So for Panhellenic Recruitment, we start on she needs to return on Friday so like classes start on Monday. And so we'll do a meeting on Friday night, and then we'll have rounds on Saturday and Sunday, and then nothing during the week, and then there will be rounds on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of the weekend after. That's okay.
Recruitment goes on, fraternity or sorority gives a bid. If that bid is accepted, you become a pledge, and then what happens, when do you become a member?
Sure. So you become a new member. Different organizations call it different things. But you become a new member, and once you accept that bid or invitation for membership, and then depending on the organization, it has to be less than 6 weeks before you will become initiated. Okay, so you can have up to 6 weeks is the maximum at Vanderbilt that new member education can last. For some organizations, that process, like if we were doing an intake process for one of our NPHC organizations, it might take place over 3 weekends. It might take place, for some of our IFC groups, the maximum for their national organization is 4 weeks. It might be, I have a couple organizations that it can only last less than 72 hours. For some organizations, it's 5 weeks. It depends, but Vanderbilt's expectation, it's 6 weeks or less. So that then they will become initiated, and then they are a full member. And so during that time period of when they are a new member, that's when they're going to learn more about the organization. They're going to have typically meetings and activities that's going to happen on a little bit more of a regular, faster pace than they do when they are a member, because they are learning. They may have specific online modules that they have to do that are coming from the national organization. They may have some specific things that they have to attend or learn. There may be some tests or quizzes that they need to take related to, like, I know this about the national organization. It kind of just depends on how the group does it. So some of them have like a new member educator that is required to do, like, they have like a facilitation guide that says we're going to teach these things. This week we're learning about the founders. This week we're learning about the history. This week we're learning about, maybe it's themed out. It kind of depends on the organization, but no more than 6 weeks until they're initiated. Yes. Yes. So Phi Kappa Psi right now they're starting this semester. So they have a national organization staff member who is here right now. So he's recruiting people right now. So he's hosting events. Like last night he had an information session. So Phi Psi, who's starting right now this semester, they would be able to join Phi Psi and express interest with them right now. SAE, who's returning in the spring semester, they will do some information sessions a little bit later on in the spring. Their staff will be here starting in January for probably 6 or 8 weeks to do their recruitment efforts, and then they'll have another person who will come to do the education efforts after that. And so they will be here to do that recruitment effort. But if they were interested, so in some instances I'm having a meeting with a young man this afternoon who wants to be an SAE. I think his dad is an SAE. And so he is coming to meet with me, and then I'll put him in touch with the people who are going to come to do the SAE recruitment in January. And then he'll just kind of stay in touch with them, and then he'll do his interview and express his interest to them when they show up in January. Mhm. There are no members of those organizations right now. So Phi Kappa Psi, they don't have any members. There's no Phi Psi members here at Vanderbilt right now. They were suspended so that all of those people are gone. Yep. Yes. There was one Phi Psi student who's a transfer student. He came last year. So he doesn't count. He doesn't count in that way. He was not suspended is what I mean. So he can be in the group. And so the national organization is starting with him, and then they'll kind of form the group around that. But so the people anyone who was a former member of SAE when SAE was suspended, they will not be in the group. No, that's a no-fly zone. So anybody who was a former member of SAE, they will not be in the new SAE group. That is not a choice. So anybody who thinks, I'll be very explicit about that, because apparently some of the people who are in the underground DEEC group are telling people that they're going to be SAEs, so let me be explicit about that as well. There is no one on this campus right now who can tell anybody that they're going to be an SAE in the spring. That is not a thing. SAE will come to do their own recruitment of whole, fresh, new people starting in the spring. Yes, it's a whole challenge. So I'm just going to be very transparent about that. So last year we got a letter from SAE that was very clear that said there is nobody here who's doing that, because there were people who were telling them that, because there's some people who are in that underground DEEC group who are former members of SAE, so they are not going to be SAEs again. That's not a choice. Yes?
Just curious, I saw some of the comments that you had from some people who were in Greek life.
Yes.
Benefit and so on. Have you ever followed those who were not in Greek life, the 75%, to see after they graduate, how did they fare? And when they got into the job market, were alumni there to support them because they haven't had the support of the Greek life? How do those people fare after, since we kind of looking at the 25% who are in the Greek life, but those people who were not able to join, how did they feel excluded? Were they able to function okay? Does that make sense?
So I have not. I would bet our Career Center has. So I would anticipate that, from a Vanderbilt network perspective, I think that I would go out on a limb, okay, and say that by being a student at Vanderbilt University, as we've kind of said, this is a supplement, an add-on, a thing that can enhance your Vanderbilt experience, but it is not the only way that you can find community here. I think that probably, so I have some of my old students have been back recruiting for Deloitte. I'll use that as an example. Are they recruiting some of the students from the fraternity and sorority community? Yes. Are they only recruiting students from the fraternity and sorority community? No. So I think that probably the Career Center would tell you that by being a person who's attending Vanderbilt University, just by attending Vanderbilt University, you probably are going to have an ability, if you're in that 75%, that you have other opportunities, because you might have other opportunities at Vanderbilt where you have some networks, right? So let's say that your network was that you wrote for the Vanderbilt Hustler, or you were involved in student government. I think from the seat that I sit in, I am aware of we have long networks here, big networks. Vanderbilt, we have organizations that were founded here before Vanderbilt was a school. We have chapters that are older than Vanderbilt. It's founded at the Vanderbilt, or the University School of Nashville. So do I think we probably have some advantage in that space? And like the students mentioned about the internships and some of those things, yes. But I don't want to be so short-sighted to say that there aren't other networks that exist also. I just know that some of these networks are very easy for the students to step into. You know what I mean? It's a very natural, easy network for them to utilize. And I don't know if all of the networks are as natural and easy for them to walk into, but I don't want to be so short-sighted to say that those networks don't exist. I would venture to say that the Career Center would tell you, generally just being a Vanderbilt student would help you into those networks. Yes?
Oh, I was just going to add to that really quickly. So I have a daughter who graduated in 2020, and she lives in San Francisco, and she's constantly meeting people from Vanderbilt. There are not tons of people in San Francisco from Vanderbilt. They tend more to want to go to New York or or other places, but we still get a good number. And, you know, she'll meet somebody that was in a sorority, and then she'll meet somebody that wasn't, and she'll meet somebody that was in a different sorority or a fraternity or wasn't in anything. And it's really, I think what you're saying, it's that, oh, we went to Vanderbilt together is the connection. And, you know, she's working for a consulting firm, and she's working, you know, the students that the fellow Vanderbilt students that are there working now, you know, some were in sororities and fraternities, some were not. So I would say that she feels like it's that Vanderbilt connection, that it's not really her sorority. So.
Yeah, yep. Go ahead.
Yes, a question on IFC recruitment. You all mentioned that it's kind of informal structure. Is there any formal element to it at the end, and what is the timing as far as the fraternity's decision-making and identification?
Yes, so they do need to register. They will need to register online so that that we can have their grades checked and make sure that they are eligible. And so we want to encourage them to do that earlier so that we can get them in the potential new member tracker and we make sure they get all the emails. And then at the end, in January, there is a 2-day kind of like end of the process where they would come to a final selection night where they will fill out a card that says like, I'm ranking the chapters that I'm most interested in. That's on Friday of the first week of school, and then Saturday is the bid night.
And when do they register?
They can register. They could register right now.
No, even freshmen?
Yep. Mhm. So anybody who came to like our Greek life information session, we're sending them communication right now. And then we will also starting, it's next week, we have additional information sessions that are specifically targeted for first year students. And then also we'll have a night called Open Doors where they go to visit all the fraternities. And then after that, we'll start to send them like weekly communication as long as they're on the email list. And then the email list will continue to say like, please register here if they've come to anything that we've hosted. Yeah. So if he came just to the information session, he'll get a specific invitation to come to the information session we're having next week.
Hello. Oh, there we go. So the dates are September 14th will be that kickoff information session where, so like for first year students, they can come and all of the chapters will be there. So there'll be like 5 members from each chapter. You can just kind of talk with them. And then the following week is the Open Doors event that Kristen talked about, which is the kind of first opportunity that all of the first years will have to go to the actual houses. So it's like a really cool event. It's one of my favorite events where they go from house to house to house just for like 5-10 minutes, get to kind of briefly get an introduction into the members, into what the house looks like and what the chapter kind of prioritizes, because it is slightly different from chapter to chapter. And then, but if you miss that, like you're fine. Like you're still able to recruit, and then you can, as we said, it's very informal. You can pop in, pop out as much as you want. But then, just the only thing, as Kristen said, is register. It's on our Anchor Link page. So I'm sure your student will know what Anchor Link is, and it's just look for Interfraternity Council, and it's one of the forms that's there. And then, so then the only formalized things that you have to be at are at the very start of next semester, which are preference night and bid night, which Kristen explained.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just 6 people. Yep. Yeah, so for all of our chapter houses, or all of our chapters that have buildings are right out here in our West End neighborhood. All of the buildings have only 6 people who live in them, with the exception of our NPHC building, which is the largest. That's built suite style, so all of our NPHC chapters have a suite in a shared building, so 16 students can live there. In the other chapter houses, it's just 6 students, upper class chapter officers, are who live in that building. So it's big enough that we can have chapter meetings, programs, and social events and things like that at the house. So they'll have recruitment events, they'll invite people over to play basketball or to do things at the building. And then, but that's why everyone is kind of responsible for the building, but only 6 students live there. And it's been that way in history. And like in the 60s, we had buildings that were all throughout Nashville. And Nashville, the city of Nashville was apparent, this was before I was born, but the city of Nashville was like, yeah, no dice, we're not really feeling this about the fraternities living amongst the neighbors. And so the university under Chancellor Branscombe made the decision to bring everybody onto campus. And that's why you see some of the beautiful 60s architecture that still exists here in the West End neighborhood. That's why, but now all of our buildings are just right here in this 2-block area. But now it looks so much nicer. It used to not have these beautiful pedestrian walkways, so it does look a lot prettier than it did 5 years ago. But just the 6 people. Because that's a part of our commitment to the university's residential living learning community, is that all of our students do live in the residence halls with everyone else. Yes, ma'am.
For the freshmen and girls, I understand that it's a more formal process in January, but is there informal events going on for freshmen right now?
Go ahead.
Yes, so we are hosting as Panhellenic pop-ins. So each chapter house is opening up their house for an hour for people to come see the house, meet members. We also have Sorority Socials, which is going to involve all 9 chapters being out on our green space on Greek Row. And you'll get to meet with members there and have informal conversations. We'll be sending emails out, though, about dates and times for all of these. And it's open to as much or as little as you want to go to. We'll also have, if you can have your daughter sign up by, I believe the date is November 1st, we have Panhellenic Preview Day, which kind of similar to IFC, you'll get to go to all 9 chapter houses and experience what would typically be our first round of display. And so that lets you see how the recruitment process is going to work while also getting to see all 9 chapter houses and meet members.
Yeah, if she visits our website, but there will be like a series of Panhellenic recruitment registration sessions, and she can come to any of those info sessions, and then she'll get on the list to know about these Panhellenic pop-ins and all of these things, and she can choose which one she wants to go to, or the sorority social, or any of those things. So, yep. Okay, well, thank you so much for being here with us today. We appreciate everyone's thoughtful questions, and if you have anything else, you're welcome to come up with us at the end. Thanks so much. Enjoy your family weekend.